Well, thank you very much for that. Because I have to say, it does feel a little bit tonight, when I get up here and I know Ron Paul is speaking after me, I feel a little bit like, REO Speedwagon opening for Aerosmith or something. Thanks a lot, I sure appreciate that. This is my second visit to Seattle. I'm very happy to be here, and not merely because I get an awful lot of frequent flyer miles coming from Auburn, Alabama to here. And that is a consideration, by the way, because last year I was Silver Elite on Delta. Now this year that I'm going through right now, I'm nothing. Because, it's a long story, I didn't travel a few months last year, so I just barely missed it. This year, I'm on a path to hit Gold Elite status. But now, realize though how awful this year is, because I've got Gold status in my sight, and I've got in the rear view mirror, I've got Silver status, but right now I'm enduring Fiat paper status. Well, folks, it's been great, first of all, getting a chance to meet an awful lot of you. Some of you are actually Facebook friends of mine, so I'm very glad to shout out to you guys. Well, people ask me, Tom, how can you have 2,254 friends? How do you balance that? And I think the key is just quality time. Share everybody's joys and sorrows with them. That's the important thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight what I'm going to talk a little bit about is what it is that we're up to and why it's so important and why we should be encouraged. I know people, we're all sick of that. Yeah, I know I should be encouraged, while they're fastening the chains on my, hands and feet. So I don't want to go too overboard. We should also be terrified at the same time. But we cannot discount the phenomena that we have observed over the past couple of years. Because we have seen things occur that I never expected to happen. Now, until Ron Paul decided to run for president, it was very, very difficult to raise certain issues in American life. They just didn't come up. You could try to raise them, but nobody would follow up. The media was not interested, and they would just die. And suddenly Ron Paul came along. And this is very significant because in the United States right now, we are still living with, but starting to claw our way out of, a system in which our history is given to us in propaganda form, and our present is given to us in propaganda form. So in history, the worst crime you can commit is to say something different from what your 7th grade teacher taught you. Ooh, no independent thinking allowed here, citizen. No, sir. No, your teacher taught you that there are certain good presidents and bad presidents. The good presidents we bow down before. We take our hats off in the presence of their sacred images. We don't question them. What are you, some kind of extremist? No, you just listen to what you're told. Well, first of all, who do these creeps think they are telling us who the great So, if you dispute any of this, if you say that maybe 19th century economic history isn't quite so simple as all the evil monopolists killed everybody, that maybe there might be a slight bit more nuance there, or that maybe the history of states' rights isn't just slavery and segregation. And in fact, I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow. The history they leave out on that, they've got to be doing on purpose, because if you get the real, genuine history of that, you realize how often decentralized power and the powers of the states have been used on behalf of liberty. But that's suppressed because they're afraid that might give us ideas. And we can't have any ideas other than what the 7th grade teacher taught. And by the way, if there are any 7th grade teachers here, you guys are the exceptions, present company. But in American history, one thing you do notice, though, like in the 19th century, is that monetary issues were actually discussed by the general public. People actually thought they were entitled to an opinion on these questions. And people wrote pamphlets feverishly about gold and silver and greenbacks and whatever. Now, some of the things they wrote were brilliant. Some of the things they wrote were crankish. But at least they wrote about it. At least they talked about it. At least it was on the table. But starting in 1913, we've been told, at least implicitly, that really, we peons really aren't entitled to an opinion on subjects like this, that we really need to leave to the experts. You know, we can't really, because the experts know how many trillions of dollars they need to create, and who are we to ask a question about that, or where those trillions of dollars are going? Citizen, leave this to the experts. This is not for you to decide. So all these things, all these sorts of issues are just off the table in our history, but also in our present. So, for example, you turn on the TV news, you turn on the cable news channels, and what do? You have one set of drones debating with another set of drones about, well, let's see, should the government take half your income this way, or should it do it more efficiently that way? That's the discussion. Should the Supreme Court tell all American neighborhoods to do this or that? Do you notice there's an option that's excluded from this? I mean, no, not even mentioned. You're not allowed to mention that. We've decided what the terms of the debate are, citizen. Or how about this? Foreign policy. Here are the big choices. One set of drones says we should bomb that third world country, and the other set says we should just starve them to death. That's the debate. Well, again, I think we're excluding some possibilities. And in comes Ron Paul and says, oh, by the way, you could do neither one of those things. By the way, you could And now that he has said those things, they can never be unsaid. This toothpaste is not going back into the tube. What I love in particular about H.R. 1207 to audit the Fed is that the Fed, above all, is the consummate issue you are not supposed to discuss. It is off the table, the experts are there, you are not supposed to mention it, and all the politicians get right in line over the years, all these election years since the Fed was created. We've not a peep from any of them about it. They've all gone by the rules. The rules say, don't ever mention the Fed. Not only are we mentioning it, we've got now 179 co-sponsors on a bill to say, well, we're not just going to mention it, we're going to start poking around here and see what you've been up to. Instead of letting these creeps at the New York Times and CNBC decide the terms of debate, we are setting the terms of the debate. They have to... We are blasting open questions that they thought had been closed forever. They're busy trying to go on to the next socializing of some part of the economy, and now they're going to turn around and answer something about the Fed. Wasn't that debate closed years ago? And we blasted it open. And that's what the Campaign for Liberty and this whole freedom movement is taking this crummy debate that we've been given, where the common sense, humane solutions are systematically excluded. And we are taking a bazooka to this whole crummy emphasis. Now, it's possible that the powers that be may think that this whole interest in the Fed is just a flash in the pan. But if they think so, they don't know us very well. Because if you watch that Ron Paul campaign, I mean, some of you people have talents I didn't even know existed, okay? This is a group that I would not want to mess with, because once we get hold of an issue, we tend not to let go. So this thing, which has been off the table forever, is now going to be on the table forever. Yeah.